How do you think ChatGPT will change college admissions? He looked at me and said, how the hell will you do that? How can you maximize your chances at top schools such as Yale and Stanford with a relative low GPA, around 3.7 unweighted? Hi everyone, Francisco from Best College 8 here, where we have helped thousands of students get accepted to Ivy League schools, big state schools, and everything in between. We are going to be reacting to a Reddit thread from a former Stanford admissions officer who's also an independent college consultant and the author of a book about life in college admissions. But in this particular thread, it's formatted as an AMA, which I don't know what it was, but apparently it's Reddit talk for Ask Me Anything. And if you find this content helpful, go ahead and subscribe. Give a like to this video, but now let's go ahead and get started. The first question that I'm going to be answering is about ChatGPT. How do you think ChatGPT will change college admissions? Do you think it's all right to use ChatGPT, Grammarly, other AI tools for editing essays? I think there's room to use ChatGPT as well as Grammarly as tools to help students scaffold their writing skills, but there's a lot to be said for learning to write through trial and error. She goes on to talk about how she came to from the Soviet Union to the US when they were 9 and ended up learning English from TV. And realistically, a lot of students will end up using ChatGPT to generate essays, but that they're missing out on important opportunities to find their own voice and acquire skills for the rest of their lives. Artificial intelligence should be a supplement, not a substitute to whatever skill that a person is engaging in or being assessed on. I have students in Best College 8 who send me their essays, and you can tell that the whole thing was manufactured by ChatGPT, and there was absolutely zero prompt engineering. It was just copy and paste the prompt and give it a subject about X topic, right? Don't just write your essay from scratch with ChatGPT. I'd argue that ChatGPT can be a great tool if you have a list of ideas. However, I think everything when it comes to the organization, everything that when it comes to the original draft and getting your own ideas and your own voice on paper should come straight off the dome. Then once you have that foundation, you can use ChatGPT and proper prompt engineering to say, okay, now that I have this structure, or now that I have this original draft, can you help me identify whether there's a opportunity for parallel structure with my sentences? Can you help me identify how this can be further related to the prompt? Can you help me clean up my sentences? But I always think of it as you build the foundation yourself, and then you polish it and take it to the next level with specific prompts and specific help from ChatGPT to make it look better. What is the best way you think a student can demonstrate intellectual vitality, especially with limited resources? So before I go to the answer, for those of you that don't know, intellectual vitality basically means love of learning for the sake of learning. This is what Irena, the Stanford admissions counselor, said. Yes, I am a little biased, but your local library is a treasure trove, and apart from books, reference materials, videos, etc., you can also borrow great course classes which are taught by some of the most accomplished professors in the country and the world. If you have specific academic interests, ask your teachers whether there are resources or research opportunities that they might recommend. Also, there may be programs you are eligible for instance, Scholar Match, where you'll be partnered with mentors who can help you develop your intellectual interests in high school and help you through the application process. Intellectual vitality is something that is very difficult to replicate, and if you are just trying to fake an interest of learning for the sake of learning, you're going to be pretty miserable. Jolly Polly Molly, great name, is asking, how much do letters of recommendation matter? Specifically, if someone writes great essays that should show their personality, has great stats and extracurriculars, but has one very generic letter of recommendation, and a good letter of recommendation, would this be a big red flag? So this is a very specific situation. Irena says, I think generic is a lot better than bad and won't damage your application. Teachers and recommenders have a lot on their plates. Admissions officers know that. Letters of recommendation are important but less reliable than other application materials that give more of a high fidelity picture of your high school performance. Not a big red flag. Although you can't always control who your teachers are, I do suggest cultivating as strong of a relationship relationship as you can with all of your 11th grade teachers so that you have multiple options for who to ask. If no one in 11th grade seems promising, it might be worth to wait until senior year and really hit the ground running. Hopefully you can connect with at least one or more non-generic teachers. Yeah, great advice. Another thing that I would add here is sometimes, because these teachers or coaches or whoever it is that you're asking have a lot on their plate, it might be recommended to give them a reference sheet where you write some of the accomplishments. I'm not saying write the letter for them, but give them some context as to where you're standing with your grades, what you want to study, some context as to who you are as a student. Not because they don't know you, they will know you, but a lot of times it will, once they read it, inspire them to write their own version of the recommendation letter, but with a little bit more orientation as to the qualities that they maybe need to highlight or the overall goals that you have that maybe you talked about them during a lunch break. If you add a little bit of context and give them a reference sheet, it's not cheating. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just some sort of inspiration and context so that you don't have to sit next to them and be like, oh, by the way, these are all the great things about me and this is what I want to do. So yeah, give them something to inspire them, and then they will take care of the rest and write it with their own words. Next question is from Alt Drawing 3133. How can you maximize your chances at top schools such as Yale and Stanford with a relative low GPA, around 3.7 unweighted? The answer is, to flip the question, why is it important for you to go to Yale or Stanford with a 3.7 unweighted GPA, or a 4.0 unweighted GPA for that matter? I know a lot of things about prestige, but if getting your current GPA felt like a stretch, was stressful, imagine how you might feel in a school where you are surrounded by students who were in the top 2% of their graduating class for the next 4 years. How will that serve you? Is your goal to go to the most prestigious school you can, to be a rock star in college and feel confident as you graduate, apply for jobs, go to grad school? I remember when I was in high school, I said to my counselor, oh, I want to apply to all the Ivies. He looked at me, he said, why the hell would you do that? What are you looking for? What do you want to study? You know that they're all very different and they specialize in different things and you are going to get vastly different experiences from each of them. Then I realized that it was just because I wanted to flex and I wanted to say, oh, I applied to all the Ivy Leagues and Stanford and all these great schools, because it's normal to be a high school student who wants to, I don't want to say impress others, but there is a degree of that, and I'm not judging. And now that I work on this, I get a lot of students who either want to apply to the big state school where they're from because their parents went there, or they want to go to a top 10 school or apply to a top 10 school just for the name and recognition. Realistically, when it comes down to it, there are two main criteria that you should start with. What do you want to study? And how much do you want to pay for it? Because as we mentioned in another answer, it is a broken system when it comes to the cost of college. It's ridiculous how much a 4-year education can cost nowadays. Nonetheless, there are universities that can satisfy above a 75, 90, 100% of the demonstrated financial need of the household, that offer exactly what you or your student wants to pursue. Don't suffer too much. You don't have to go to Harvard or Stanford to be successful. So with that being said, thank you so much, Reddit. Thank you so much, Stanford admissions. And thank you so much, you watcher, for coming with me on this very preachy journey. I do want to say, if you enjoyed this, if you learned a thing or two, go ahead and subscribe, give us a follow. Thank you for joining me. Again, this video was more of entertainment with some sprinkles of education and tangible advice that can hopefully help you navigate the road to college. Nonetheless, if you want more concrete examples, tips, advice on how to navigate the road to college, we do have a completely free training on a link below this video. It will be attached down below. If you want to watch it, you can sign up for that presentation given by my brother David, another admissions counselor for Best College Aid, and you can learn those tips. But if not, a like and a follow would suffice, and let us know your thoughts and what you thought of this video, and if there's any more content that you want to see or reactions that you think we should make down below. Have a great day.